So here's some key things I think to remember. And these are kind of principles about entrepreneurship that I've learned, and I'll try to put them as I remember them in the kind of the why it was surprising to me when I moved from academia into business. So first, work as if you're going to succeed, right? One of the things about entrepreneurs is you're a little crazy because you're taking this blank thing and you're thinking, oh, I can see the thing I can build, right? It's always a lot more work and a lot harder than you think. And if you look at statistics, most entrepreneurial ventures fail, right? So depending on which stats you look at, it's somewhere between 10 and 30% on the success range. That's there is a happy exit that isn't a crater at the, that isn't a little smoking ruin. So you work as if you're going to succeed because you have to have that kind of visualize it, but plan on the fact that you might actually fail, right? And think about the fact, not you be paranoid about the fact that you may be failing. So for example, one of the lessons that was very contrary for me between my academic training, right, and my business training is you want to get to your failure points and measure them as early as you can. Because in fact, it's like, oh, well, I'll do all this stuff to prep because I really don't want to fail. So I'll do this piece of work first and that piece of work and that piece of work and this piece of work. But if this is your test failure point, and this point is, say, 3 years out, and you wait for 3 years to measure that, and you could have measured it in year 1, you could have actually known that you were going to fail and had the extra 2 years to do something else, right? So get to that point as soon as you can, and do not maximize getting over the hurdle. Everyone has a fear of failure. They have a fear of public embarrassment, right? They have a fear of, oh, look, I did that, and it blew up, right? And there's some rationale to that. We all have brands. Those brands affect who invests in us, who works with us, et cetera. You have to manage that in some intelligent way. But in fact, I see tons of people basically spend years on failed ideas because they don't actually drive it to. They just think, well, if I just get everything right, it will work, right? And you really have to be hard-nosed about what's the central test, and if it fails that test, what do I think about it? So work as you're going to succeed, but plan on the contingencies of failing. Time matters. Frequently, it's one of the things that's unfortunately true is that there's a market readiness to when an idea is good. So let's take one of the recent phenomena, YouTube. Obviously YouTube, had one of the most spectacular beginning, growth, and exits for an entrepreneur in a very compressed time period. Think about if MySpace didn't exist. Or for PayPal, the thing I did earlier, if eBay didn't exist. If those things weren't there, they could not have been the successes that they were. And what's more, before YouTube, there had been at least 30 to 40 video startups I knew about over the last 4 years, previous to that. Well, and so a lot of people say, well, I had an idea that was like that. Yeah, and it's like, yes, you did, and some of it is just luck. Right? This is the right time, this is the right place. Now, Chad and Steve did a great job, right? They caught the wave, they surfed it really well. They did a great job with it. But part of when you look at the lessons of this is sometimes you have to count on the fact that sometimes you're going to be lucky and sometimes you're not. And if your time cycles are really, really long, right, the number of times that you have to have the luck of catching a wave is small. Right? So you want to get to measuring whether or not your idea works or not as early as you can. It's about controlled risk, which means neither take tons and tons of risk and take no risk. If you think you're taking no risk, well, either you're not doing anything, right, or you're deluding yourself, right? Because anything that's new involves some amount of risk. Now, the whole point about controlled risk is people then say, oh, it's risky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on artificial intelligence and I'll create a device that's advancing science. Well, it's risky. Who knows who can do it? Well, the answer is that won't be happening anytime soon, contrary to some AI predictions from some number of years ago. But focus on if this one risk or these two risks, or hopefully no more than three, break my way, then I've got something really valuable, right? And that thing can really work. And in particular, actually, this leads to another thing that was a big insight for me. Hopefully, maybe this is I was stupid. in business, the problem that you're trying to solve is take the easiest, simplest problem that's valuable. You're not trying to prove how smart you are. You're not trying to prove how hard of a problem you can solve. Right? Those are academic things, because the way that you're rewarded here by like publishing a great paper or having a great essay or something else is you took an intellectually very difficult problem and you displayed your mastery of it by being able to solve that problem with pure brain power. Business is about the simplest possible problem that you can actually get scalable, that works and scale and goes big. So, for example, YouTube, right? Simple publishing a video, right? It's not to say that sometimes, by the way, there isn't a tremendous amount of work underneath it, but it's not like a grand master plan. So, I guess I'll kind of go through quickly these kind of things to get to a little bit of the narrative, which will be interesting. But what's the fundamental strategy of a startup? People frequently think it's product strategy. It's like, I have a great idea for a photo sharing site, a video site, a blogging site, a way of doing new search, a way of preventing spam, a way of delivering email, whatever it is. I'm a consumer internet guy, so there's lots of other entrepreneurial exists, but all my examples will be in that arena. It's actually not product strategy and it's not sales strategy. It's financing strategy. It's strategy relative to the capital markets. I'll go in a little bit more depth than this when I indicate why my first startup had problems. And it was a lack of knowledge that financing strategy is central.